Hey y'all, welcome back to the channel. You're probably wondering, hey, what happened to this guy? He started posting videos, then just all of a sudden quit. Well, be honest with you, with 2 jobs and everything else going on right now, it's been kind of tough to do much of anything. But I gotta say that they're still here, and we're still gonna do something with them. Just a little bit of time. Time is always a factor. I have a full-time job and a part-time job, some other things in the background going on, so that's just how it goes sometimes. This is the first time I've actually had a chance to record a video. With that being said, let me give you a clue on what's going on. Oh, well, I gotta say, first things first, thank you for the subscribers. Thank you for all that have started following the videos. That's great. That just tickles me to death. I hope I can do it justice. Like I said, you're just gonna have to be patient with me. I don't have a lot of time to do this stuff, but I'll get there. Some of the limiting factors, obviously, if you haven't noticed, that I do live here in Florida, and it's very hot and very humid, and I work outside all day, so it gets pretty warm, and by the time you're done, you're bushed. So anyway, and as you can see by the weather, it's trying to sprinkle on me right now, but it's yeah, it's trying to rain. It's sprinkling right as we're talking here. But anyway, let me give you a quick update. This is Scarlet underneath the cover, and the reason why I've got it covered up, well, for one's to help somewhat protect it. It's not, as you can see, this, it's time to replace the tarp. It's got one of those wonderful Harbor Freight specials, and the sun has really taken its abuse and the wind, so it's time to replace it. Got a big old rip here. It's done, so I'll have to get a new tarp. Luckily, they're not expensive, and it's raining on me. This is one of the factors that's been kind of limiting me from doing anything, but I'm gonna keep recording. As long as it doesn't get water on the lens, we're good. The donor car. I think what I decided to do on this thing, well, I'm gonna have to duck under some cover. So let me get over there. Okay, let's try this again. Since maybe that little brief shower and everything disappeared. Again, that's the biggest thing you fight with down here in Florida is the weather. It rains almost every afternoon down here, so you know, it is what it is. But anyway, the donor car. I've decided that I'm going to try to get it running before I pull it out, and it's got a couple issues with it. For one, I don't think it was either 88 or 89. I can't remember off the top of my head. I think it was 88. Is the first year they started using a VATS vehicle anti-theft system, which basically means it had a chip key. So part of the security deal on it is it's got a resistor that's built into the key, and I think that if I remember right, there was like 13 different resistances. But anyway, the ignition, not the switch, but the tumbler itself, the cylinder has an ability to read that chip, and it sends it back to a module that's buried up under the dash. And if everything jives and it's the right signal, then it sends a signal down to a relay pack that says, hey, yeah, you can start, so go ahead and give it power and you can turn it over and everything's all hunky-dory. Well, that doesn't work on this. Now, I don't know if the key is the wrong resistance or if the VAT system doesn't even work. My thought is I'm just going to try to bypass it, which I can do it. I can bypass it. Basically, what I'm going to show you is where everything's located and how to bypass it, and that will give you. And here comes the sun, and that'll give you a way to get the thing started. Get that out of the way. You probably got a shadow. There you go. So plus I'd like to hear this thing run before I pull it out, you know, that way I got an idea of what I'm working with. Now I've already tried to turn this thing over by hand, and I can wrench it over by hand, so I know that it turns over. The alternator was locked up when I got it, so it gave you a false sense of being locked up, but the alternator is actually locked and the serpentine belt was keeping it from spinning. So I pulled that off, and of course it turns over. It's good. It got good antifreeze in it, and it's got good oil in it. So we're going to start there. I also need to see if the ECM is communicating. I can't remember the last time I worked on it, if I crossed the ALDL, if the I can't remember if it did anything. I'm kind of thinking that it didn't, because I don't remember seeing the check engine light. So we may not have any power to the ECM, so we're going to have to resolve that. So it's little things like that. I do have an old Matco determinator, which is the same as the old Genesis, that will read the old OBD1 stuff on GMs. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to see if we can get this thing to talk to one of the computers, and that way we know that that's working. And I know the fuel pumps probably burn up in it. The fuel tank smells like turpentine, which means the gas is soured, and it's leaking, so there may not even be any gas in the car. So probably what I'll have to do is I'll have to rig up a setup that I can run it directly into, I don't know, a portable gas tank or something like that. I've got a couple of spare old electric fuel pumps that still work. I can make it work for testing purposes. I'll just have to make some lines to adapt it to the original, and let me show you that. Alright, so what I'll probably end up doing is these fuel lines here, they go right here to these hard lines, and I could take these hard lines off here and make an adapter, because these should be just a compression union. If they're not a compression, and those ones that take the O-ring, and like I said, it's been so long since I've looked at it, but anyway, I'll have to rig up some sort of fuel system to get it to work. These lines are in pretty sad shape. They're pretty rusty. I'd imagine probably what I'll do is I'll have to replace, see, because this here is leaking, starting to leak, and that's just a coolant hose, but it'll take some cleaning up. It's pretty corroded. I mean, the throttle moves, which is a good thing, but I'm guessing this car was from the East Coast somewhere down, I don't know, may come from Miami or something like that at one time, judging from the amount of rust and corrosion that's on it. It was close to the ocean. But anyway, so we're going to have to get some sort of fuel system for it, and then I'll see if we can talk to the computer, and we'll go from there. I think we can make something work. I haven't looked. There's a couple of things on these old GMs. Is what they did is they ran, like, there's this wire right here is a usually that's the power wire for the ECM, and you can smell that rotten gas. Not to get off subject, but you can smell that rotten gas just standing there. I mean, it smells bad. But we'll check the powers and everything, make sure the ECM's getting power to it, and go from there. I'm really getting pretty anxious to start this thing, get going on it, but again, time has been a factor, and then of course the weather. But one thing on a positive note, summer is about over here, which means fall's coming along, and once fall comes along, the weather starts turning really nice. it doesn't rain as much, the humidity drops, and we could get a bunch more done. The weather's a little more cooperative. And my second job will slow down because I work for NHRA, basically, is where my check comes from. But I work at the local racetrack, and I'm part of the track operations, which is a blast. I have a lot of fun. Part of the crew and everything else. Just, it's a good time. I love racing, I always have, especially straight line. I love road course too. That's a lot of fun. And that's where this one comes in. Now here comes the kids, our four-legged furry ones. Anyway, so this one, probably what I'll do is I'll make it more of a, I'll probably do a cage on it. And we'll make a kind of a universal all-around car. So, but like I said, that one, the donor is going to disappear once I get it, what I need out of it, and then I'll see if anybody's interested in the rest of the parts. Like I said, I won't have any use for any of the interior stuff, except for a few minor things. So it's got a black interior, it's got 2 good T-tops on it. But for some strange reason, one of the T-tops is locked, the other one's not. So I'll have to pull one of the tumblers out and get a key made for it, so I can get it apart. The other thing I was working on is, while everything's been going on, I found somebody else here local that is a 3rd gen fan, and we did some trading, which was cool. I traded him a set of IROC taillight assemblies, which are the same as these over here. Since that's a donor, I didn't need that set, so I had a good set, and he also wanted a factory spoiler. So I started getting these spoilers off, and there's a bolt on one of these quarters that's underneath that is so rusty and rounded I couldn't get it off. And you can see on the factory, on the centerpiece, they were so bad that it unscrewed from the spoiler, and apparently it had some goofy big spoiler on the back, and they went right through. Well, here's the old piece. It went right through the spoiler, and the spoiler was brittle enough when it finally broke loose, it took a chunk of the spoiler with it. So I can't give that to him. So I guess what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this one off of this one, because, you know, that was part of the trade. So I'll take this spoiler off the center. I'll still try to get those 2 side pieces off of there. I think what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to either make my own spoiler setup, or I'm going to get the Detroit Speed one that's got a little bit more of a deflection on it for some downforce. So, but yeah, I thought that was kind of screwed up. So anyway, here I'll show you what I traded for. Well, part of what I traded for. I was pretty excited about this. I couldn't believe it when I popped it up and it was somebody I knew. One of the guys I met that, well, I worked with one of the guys, but it was his friend, and he had been racing and stuff like that, so it was pretty cool. But there's what I traded for. Here, let's just take that down. That is a 3rd gen rear end. It is a 308 posi, but if you noticed, it's got Willwoods on it. It's a Willwood 12-inch disc brake conversion kit with the parking brake shoe inside. And like I said, it's a 308 posi. Those brakes have hardly been used, and the only reason why the rotors are a little rusty like that is as soon as I picked it up and brought it back to the house, it's rained almost every day since then. I haven't been able to get it out of the truck. The other thing is that right there. That is a 6L80, and we're going to be putting that in the Camaro. Again, it's been sitting out here since then. I've had it capped, so I mean, to make sure I don't get any water. There's a plug in it there, make sure it doesn't get any water in it. And the converter plug has been covered up. I'm not really worried about the converter, because the converter is probably what caused this to fail. This is a truck that I was working on in the shop, and I don't know if any of y'all know about the 6L80s, but sometimes the converter has an issue where the material inside the converter will start to come apart, and what it does is it sends all that debris through the transmission. It basically goes into the pump. Is right out of the converter, it goes into the pump. So usually what happens is it plugs up the pump, takes the pump out, and causes low line pressure, and it burns up the 4-5-6 clutch, I think it is, if I remember right. 4-5-6 clutch, and sometimes it'll take the 3-5 reverse clutch out. But at any rate, it pretty much cooks the transmission. That one still moved, but not real well. It was an aftermarket warranty company, so they just decided to put another one in it. And yeah, so I was able to get that core, and it'll be a good one for the show to go through it. They are a good transmission. They're just a little finicky on what you can use to program them. There's not a lot of support out there, and the reason why, the 6L80 was GM's, I don't know if it was an attempt, but what they did is they put the transmission control module inside the pan. It's all part of the solenoid pack. The solenoid pack, the pressure control solenoid, all that stuff is all in one unit, and the TCM is part of the that solenoid pack. So usually you end up replacing that. So in the 8L90, 8L45, 8L90, and 10L90, they move the TCM external again. So the 6L80 requires what they call serial data communication all the time. It's on a high-speed bus, but it sends the ECM sends all the data to the TCM inside the transmission, and that's how it adjusts everything and makes everything work. So when you program one, you have to program usually both the engine and the transmission to coincide with each other. So it changes the configuration and what controller you can use. You can buy a standalone control unit, but it's really expensive. You're better off to find a truck or car that originally came with it and just use that. And that's how, have some way to control the transmission that way. Not sure on how to work all the details out just yet, but I'm working on that, and that'll be good information for you. You'll have to wait for that one to come up in another video. But anyway, again, I'm going to close out this video, but again, I'm going to say to the subscribers that are out there, thank you so very much for subscribing to my channel, and I hope I can send you some good information. There are some more videos coming. Now that things are starting to settle down a little bit, I'll be able to get some more out there to you. So I'm pretty stoked. Like I said, I can't thank you all enough. Hey, anyway, God bless y'all. Thanks for subscribing. If this video was any sort of helpful to you, I hope it was good. But I'm still here. It's just going to take me a little while to get things going again. But we'll talk to you soon. Kind of keep an eye out. We got some videos coming, just like I said, not real fast. Take care, have a great afternoon, and until next time, we'll see you later.